Hey, this is Glenn with An American Couple. We have a lot of people ask us, how in the world do you tow a trailer with your MG Midget? They're not really designed for trailers, and I do agree. However, I think we've come up with a really good hitch design that's worked well for us. We've pulled our trailers over 1,000 miles without any incidents at all. So I'm going to show you how we came up with a design and what it looks like on the car, and a few other things.
Ooh, an American Couple.
So this is our travel vehicle of choice. This is our 1973 MG Midget. It is a original drivetrain. The motor now has just short of 100,000 miles on it. We put a new timing chain and water pump in it last year, but the motor and transmission and rear end are all original in this car. We've done a lot of modifications just to make it a little more fun to drive and a little safer to drive. We've actually installed a Miata roll bar in the car that's full of cement. Actually, the loop part of it's all full of cement, and it's welded into the back side of the car where the wheel well arches are, and then it's actually bolted into the front side, so it's pretty strong. Things like that. We've just done a few things to the car to make it a little more modernized and safer for us to drive. And one of the things obviously we had to install was the hitch, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the trunk and show you how we installed the hitch in the car, how it functions, and give you the basic diagram of what it looks like. A lot of the pieces that we've used for this project, we've done all from just scrap. We do all of our own mechanical work on the car, body work on the car, paint work on the car. I'm a big Harbor Freights guy. Most all the tools I have, unfortunately, are Harbor Freight tools, but they suffice for what we do as, shade tree mechanics. So let me walk you through the process of what the hitch looks like on the inside of the trunk, underneath, and how it all works. So if you're a Midget owner, you're pretty much familiar with what the actual frame looks like in it. In the 73, we have the round poles that go over to the side. What we did is we cut a piece of 1-inch tubing that goes from that round arch, welded in place here, all the way to the front here where they come together. Let me turn the camera so you can see a little better. Where they come together. And then we have another bar on the other side that's welded over to the frame over there. In the back side, we have a 1-inch frame that's welded to these bumper supports on either side of the car. There's a weld there and a weld there. Realistically, that doesn't add any pulling support, but it does add torsional support side to side to the car. In the centerpiece, we have a 1-inch tube that's going to drop straight down through, went through the pan itself. It's welded all the way around on the inside, and this is where your basic support for the hitch comes from. This 1-inch tube that goes straight through, and I'll show you what it looks like on the bottom side. Also notice that there's a small bolt here and a small bolt here. In retrospect, these basically are just supports onto the pan of the car, and you'll see underneath that there's a metal support. I probably would have made these about 2 inches wider. They stop about right here, and had them gone underneath the support, and I would have screwed them directly to here and to here rather than to there and to there. But we've got over 1,000 miles on this hitch, and it really hasn't caused any trouble. So let's take a look at the bottom side of the hitch. So we have our same 1-inch tube here, and this is the 1-inch tube that goes straight up through the floor that attached on the inside. It's welded to a pretty stout piece of steel bar that goes across. This is the piece here that I told you I wish I would have made a little bit longer. That's the bolt that goes up on the one side, and there's the bolt on the other side over here that you see. If I had made this bar about 2 inches longer, these bolts would have gone directly up straight through to the diagonals that go to the frame. Probably would have made it a little bit stronger. This particular 1-inch frame, because it wasn't quite the right size, we had to cut it on an angle and make it smaller to fit a standard 1-inch receiver. And then we went ahead and put a piece around the entire thing to kind of give it some rigidity and to stiffen it up. This hitch is very strong. You can stand on it. You could put probably 400 or 500 pounds on top of it. It doesn't seem to flex anywhere in the body, anywhere. Well, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but just to show you how strong this hitch is, I've got it attached to my boat, and I can push my boat up in the driveway with it. And that's about 150 pounds of tongue weight sitting there on that hitch, and it hasn't really done anything but put the Midget down a little bit, but it's a pretty strong hitch. The hitch weight for our large trailer, which is our micro teardrop camper, is about 80 pounds, and that seems to be sufficient for what we're pulling. Our little small trailer, which is the rear back end of a 1972 Midget, it has a tongue weight of about 60 pounds. So because our hitch heights are so different, we use a standard 1-inch hitch with a 4-inch drop. So we flip it in this configuration for our larger trailer because the hitch height is higher. For our smaller trailer, we take it, we flip it over, put it in, and then we just reverse the ball, take the ball and flip it upside down. Because we carry so much stuff in our car when we're camping, we wanted to try to find a way to get the spare out of the trunk and onto the back of the car. And that's how we came up with this little Continental kit that you see here. So if you're a fairly familiar MG person, you may know exactly what these pieces are. These are the end tips to the roof bows that hold up the convertible top. We had an old car that we were cannibalizing, and I kept the steel, and the perfect angle for these was the spare tire would fit right in the center right here. The license plate is attached to the end here. It's all welded together to this 1/8 inch angle iron that goes all the way up the top, and I'll show you how all this goes together. So the spare tire goes on backwards, and you'll notice there's a 1/2 inch bolt that goes through the angle iron through the center of the wheel. We actually took one of those beauty ring caps that goes in the center of the wheel, drilled a hole in it, and this is what physically holds the actual tire onto the angle iron. And as you tighten this up, it tightens the tire against the angle iron. It also tightens the tire against the two sides of the bumper on either side of where the tire attaches, so it doesn't rattle and it holds it in really a tight position. We've installed a thin LED bar on the back side of the license plate to illuminate it at night, and it plugs into the standard trailer plug. To finish it off, we used one of our old metal beauty rings off of the car. We riveted a piece of aluminum to the back of it, and on that we've installed the logo for our travel channel. And that just snaps into the back of the tire. Notch the bottom license plate holder holes so they slide down in the lower bolts. Makes it easier to put it on. We've installed wing nuts on both the car license plate holder and the Continental kit license plate holder. By just taking the bolts off and pulling the license plate out, we change license plates rather quickly. The handle just passes by the angle iron that supports the tire, but it locks in place. Not only is this addition functional, it adds a unique look to the car, which is something we really like. The only issue we've found adding the tire to the rear of the car is because it's so far back from the rear axles and the frame and the tire together weigh about 50 pounds. It does put a little more cantilever weight to the rear of the car, which takes a little bit of the suspension off the front, but it hasn't been enough to make a difference.